Hello everyone. We are going to have a silly video today because I'm having the worst month. A few little bright points in it, but otherwise terrible. So we're going to do something silly and fun. And I know I mentioned I was going to do an Until Dawn Tiermaker, but I really wanted to expand that to all of Supermassive's games. All of the main ones, Until Dawn, the Quarry, and the DPA. But I haven't I haven't played The Devil in Me yet, and although I hope to do so soon, I really wanted to be able to include it in the Tiermaker. So, no spoilers, please, on The Devil in Me. I will get to it pretty soon. That said, there will be spoilers in this video for Detroit Become Human, so if you haven't played it and you care about spoilers, you'll want to avoid this video. But I thought this would be fun. This is not replacing the Detroit video I have been waffling about for a while. That's going to actually be like high quality. I mean, high quality for me. This is just fun and silly and something to do. So we're going to go ahead and do this. I made this template here. These are custom. The ranks, when you find this particular template, it's going to have just generic ones, so you can change them yourself. But I added all the characters with the pictures and stuff because I was a picky bitch and I didn't like any of the ones that were on there. So here are my tiers. My beloved, self-explanatory, characters that I absolutely love. Liked is going to be characters that I like. I don't feel extreme attachment to, but I like them. And or I think that they're really interesting characters, well written and intriguing. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a character who I would like, personality wise. If I think that they're well written and interesting, they also go here. The potential, this is for, as with pretty much all Quantic Dreams games, there are characters with great potential, but they didn't get enough screen time or enough writing or whatever else. And therefore they really can only be potential rather than anything more. I Don't Think About You at All is for characters that I forget exist or I think are extremely bland. Ugh is for characters, obviously, that I go ugh when I see them on screen. And Jail from Mother is the tier for characters that are terrible, whether they are terrible because they are terrible people or terrible because they are terribly written. And as I said, sometimes terrible people will go in liked if they're well written, so this is generally just terrible all around. So let's go ahead and get into this. We're going to start off with 60. So 60 is dramatic and total bitch, and I really like him. He's hilarious. He's just awful. I'm gonna put him in liked because he's not beloved tier, but I really love how dramatic and petty and awful he is. Okay, next is Adam. I like Adam. We're gonna put Adam in liked. Adam gets a bad rap because obviously he's put into kind of the antagonistic role in this particular chapter that he shows up in, but little dude is just doing his best. He's trying to take care of his mom. He has good reason to be suspicious and all of that, and he has a shirt that says average casual guy. So he gets a lot of points, and then he also does he comes around on the whole android issue. So, he's a good kid. I like him. Oh, Alice. Alice, baby. Alice is going in potential. I have read some great fan works and some great meta and things like that about her. Unfortunately, she suffers from the double whammy of being a child in Quantic Dream games and the terrible plot twist. We all know the terrible plot twist. Poor Alice. She could have been saved in so many ways, even just by giving her more personality. She has personality in the game, but it's very lackluster a lot of the time. I mean, there could have been so much more done with her, and so she has a lot of potential, but unfortunately I can't really put her any higher. Captain Allen is a character I find really interesting because we don't see him very often, but he has a few particular traits that I think are really interesting about him. In particular, how he talks to Connor. He kind of is a jerk at the beginning, which, you would expect, but he's also a jerk in a different way than people typically are toward androids. People either ignore androids or they just kind of boss them around. I think it's really interesting that Alan kind of looks Connor in the eye and talks to him like a human, just, kind of briskly, but as a human. He remembers Connor's name months and months later, and he seems concerned when Connor throws himself off the building if you make those choices. So, the building in Battle for Detroit, not in the hostage. I realize this can happen multiple times. But anyway, I find him really interesting, and so I put him in the potential. Amanda. Amanda is terrible, but she is fascinating and she's well written. I really think she is well used. I think there's a lot of questions about her, a lot of potential to explore with her. She would go in the potential if she didn't also have so much personality in game. So she serves her role really well. Probably helped a lot by how strong her actor was. She did a fantastic job with this character, and I think it's really interesting that a lot of players start out, wanting to please Amanda and wanting to stay on her good side and then kind of slowly drift away from her. I think that was done really, really well. So I think Amanda, she's an AI, so there's only so much we can tell about how independent and self-aware she is. So it may not be fair to call her a terrible person, but assuming she was totally aware of what she was doing, she's terrible, but I really like her anyway, so she's going in liked. Ben is just a dude. He seems to be a nice dude. He's pretty chill. He just seems like generally a pretty decent detective, He's not rude to anyone. He makes jokes. He's just kind of there. But I think he has potential. He's an interesting character. The Border Agent. So the Border Agent, as we all know, is the real MVP in particular endings. However, he can also be the absolute opposite of the real MVP and get you totally killed. However, I think I'm going to go ahead and put him in liked because his Welcome to Canada line is just so good. Oh, Carl. Carl. We have so many sides to Carl. What we see in game of Carl is generally pretty good, obviously. Carl is a likable person. But what we know of Carl, with him not really raising Leo, and then also the fact that he seems to be aware that his android may be sentient, or at least partially sentient, and yet he still kind of keeps him as a servant is kind of super sketchy. So I'm always torn on Carl. I am going to put him in liked because I like what we see of Carl without all of these extra implications. Otherwise, he would go in the potential because I think that he is an interesting character. I don't want to say that Carl is a bad person. I'm not trying to say that. He's just a character with a lot of sides and a lot of gray, I think. But I'm going to go in liked, put him in liked. I think that he has a deserved position there. Caroline I put on here just because I was originally trying to put all characters with significant speaking roles onto this, but some of them kind of got blurry about who really deserves to be on here and who doesn't. Like Nathan is probably not really, he shouldn't really be on here. But Caroline is going to go in I Don't Think About You at all. I don't have anything against Caroline. She was perfectly within her rights to be snippy in the 2 lines we have of her, but I really don't think about her at all. Our hostess Chloe, our main menu Chloe, I love her. She's darling. I love the whole little thing at the end where you can choose to let her go. And I love that she asks you if you're friends. I love her commentary about the story, how sad she is if you lose characters. I think she's great. I love her. She goes in liked. All right, OG Chloe. She's going to go into the potential. She has so much potential in fan works. She can be really, really interesting. People can do so much with her. She's also very interesting in kind of the meta stuff for the game, like the interview that she does where she talks about not having a soul. She's very interesting there. Unfortunately, in the game itself, she is basically a non-personality. She doesn't really do or say much. So, unfortunately, she can only go in the potential for me. Oh, Chris. I really like Chris. He is a nice guy. He's trying to do his best out there, but he also kind of was involved in the Capitol Park nonsense, and that really knocks him down a peg. Chris, why? We were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. You're gonna go in liked. He's real close to being put in my beloved, but man, he goes in liked. Connor. Okay, here is my beloved. Like many people, I think Connor's story is the most interesting of all of them. I like Markus and Kara, spoilers, they're going to go in liked, but I don't find their storylines all that interesting, especially after the first playthrough. They're kind of something I've seen a lot, and they're kind of what you see is what you get in many ways. With Connor, I think that the the kind of choose your own adventure story lends itself really well with his story, with his, self-discovery and his forming of his own personality and his own independence and its own identity. He's the only one of your playable characters that actually struggles with what deviancy is, and I think that that is an element that was very important to this game. And I think that his storyline is really, really interesting, and he is very, very interesting. So I am really invested in him and his many, many struggles, some of which are completely self-caused. All right, so just like we had a first in the My Beloved, we're going to break in another category with Daniel, who goes in jail for mother. I know some people are very sympathetic to Daniel, and I'm not one of them. Daniel could have walked his ass right out the apartment door and not murdered anyone. He also could have just murdered someone and then left, and not, traumatized Emma for life. But whatever, Daniel had to be a selfish dick, so that's why Daniel goes on jail for mother. I do not feel bad for him. He got what he deserved. All right, Echo. Echo goes into liked. Echo, I think, goes out of the potential just for her speech that she can give at the end. You can get a few different versions of it depending on how the fight goes and if you shoot the other Tracy. But I think Amelia really knocked it out of the park with the acting, and you can really feel a lot of her personality in it. And I think that she's a really interesting character, and I like her. She probably should go in the potential, but I think that she got enough, even in her very, very short amount of canon screen time, that she can go in liked. All right, Emma. Poor Emma. I'm torn between I Don't Think About You at All and the potential. Emma could be used to great effect in fan works and things like that. You could develop a really interesting plot and character out of her experiences and what we do see of her, but I honestly don't think about her ever. So I'm going to go ahead and put her in here, even though I think that she probably does have potential. Captain Fowler. I love Captain Fowler. He is hilarious, and he's the big tough boss, but he also seems to just be a pretty nice guy. So he really lets Hank get away with a lot, and he's a little bitchy to Connor, but he's also not terrible. He probably should crack down on Gavin a bit. So, you get the impression that he's probably kind of a softie. I like him. I think he's interesting, and I think he is a good choice for a character in the captain position. Gavin. Gavin. So, in fan works, people can do incredible stuff with Gavin. I've read a few fanfics that actually made me really interested in his character in those fanfics, but it's also with a suspension of disbelief that this sort of thing happens. In canon, he sucks. He is an idiot. He's insecure. He's a jerk. And he's a stand-in for racist cops. So he really goes in ugh. He would have like the potential ugh. He's like a secondary the potential category, but just like on the ugh side instead of the liked side. I should just like stick it like here. But no, he's ugh. Hank, my boy. All right. I like Hank a lot. However, that said, Hank has a lot of problems, and not like, cute glamorous problems, but like, Hank, this is not cool kind of problems. And I'm not talking about like his mental health issues. I'm talking about primarily how he treats Connor and his hypocrisy. He's pretty bad in these areas. However, I think he has lots of potential, and I really do like him as a character, and I like what he could be post-canon. So he's a liked with the potential to get up to My Beloved more than, I Don't Think About You at All with the potential to get up to liked. But he goes in liked. And I do have to say that Hank as a millennial memes are some of my favorite things about this entire series. Hank as a millennial memes are amazing. This is the unnamed Stratford Tower android. I put him on here because he does have pretty distinct personality from what little we see, and he's a fucking jerk. Jail for mother. Okay, I'm sort of kidding here. He doesn't, he has plenty of reason to be a jerk to Connor. Like, he has plenty of reason to be trying to survive and run away, but then he shoots up an entire hallway for no particularly good reason. You think he could have run a different direction or just like done something else. I don't know. I don't really feel bad for him. I'm just gonna put him in jail for mother. Jerry, you're adorable. I love the Jerrys. They're sweet. They're cute. They're friendly and they're helpful. but I also just don't think about them ever. John goes in the potential. John has the potential to be interesting. I like all of the aspects of his personality that we do see, including, like the anger that he shows when you don't take him with you on those routes. And he does sacrifice his life for Markus. It kind of indicates what kind of person he is. So I think that the potential is a good spot for him. I think if he had been developed more, he would have gone higher. Josh. Oh man, Josh, I love you. I don't know if he really gets to go in my beloved as opposed to liked, but I really like Josh a lot. Josh, I feel, is very underrated in fandom. People tend to forget Josh, or worse, they tend to give Josh's personality traits to Simon for some reason. But Josh is really interesting. I think that it is very neat to have an aggressive pacifist. So he's not a passive pacifist. He's not, gentle and zen and all of that. He's very aggressive about what he believes is right. And I think that that's really, really cool. That's a neat way to present that type of character who's a pacifist, but without them being just kind of, the traditional stereotypical pacifist. Josh believes in what he believes in, and he's willing to fight for that belief, even though that belief is to not fight, because he does want to fight. He just wants to fight without causing any harm. So I think that's a really cool character trait. Josh in general is a nice guy. He's a bit of a hypocrite, and he is a bit of a whiner when things don't go his way. However, I think that, those traits don't outweigh his good traits. So he goes in liked. Kamsky. Oh my gosh. Kamsky either goes in or jail for mother, and I don't know which one. I think he goes in jail for mother just for the sheer audacity of how terrible he is. I mean, Gavin's kind of pathetic, but Kamsky is purposefully a huge jerk. And sure, he doesn't actually do anything that terrible. The worst thing he does is put Chloe in danger, and she may not be deviant, so she probably isn't aware. Not that that's necessarily okay, for him to do, but he doesn't do anything that terrible. But I think that his intents and his personality, his outlook, it's all terrible. It's all awful. He treats humans and androids as playthings, and he deserves to go in jail for murder. Kara goes in liked, as I said. I like Kara. I think that she is interesting. I really wish we'd gotten more actual development for Kara in her personality that doesn't revolve around Alice. We really only get a little bit of Kara herself, and usually only in the river ending where she's talking about what she wants to do when she makes it to Canada. That's the only time we really hear anything about Kara as a person without it having to do with Alice. And I wish we had more of Kara herself. But I do like her. I like her personality. I like that you can play her in so many different ways. One of my favorite playthrough styles is just chaotic gun Kara, where she pulls the gun whenever possible and just makes the most chaotic choices. I think that's really, really funny. But even then, she's sympathetic because she's in the worst situation and she is doing her best. So I really like her. I like it when she survives and she gets to Canada and she gets to have a life of her own. Leo. So I'm going to probably shock people when I put Leo in the potential. Leo I actually quite like. I think it's really interesting to have a character like Leo who is presented as an antagonist early on in the game, as a minor antagonist, and then only in some endings you get to see that he's kind of turned his life around. I really like that he does this reflection and this change of pace, even though it's off screen. I think that Leo himself is just kind of in a bad position. He's not a terrible person. I mean, the worst thing he does is that fight with Markus and then blaming whatever happens on him to the police. And that's not good. But also, again, Leo thinks androids are just machines. He doesn't think of them as people. And he doesn't have any reason to think of them as people, as opposed to later on in the game where, you're really starting to get a lot of evidence and people should probably be considering the idea. So I think that Leo is entirely redeemable, and I think that because he does try to redeem himself, there is a lot of potential here for his character. So I think he is interesting, and I think that he can be used to great potential in fan works and stuff like that. Lucy. I want to like Lucy, but I don't. I don't think about her at all. I don't dislike Lucy. I guess she probably could go in the potential. She is pretty cool. She's got a cool character design. She seems like a kind person, and a wise person, but it's so stereotypical of the mystic sort of character that it just doesn't, I don't connect with it at all. So I really often don't think about her. I forget she exists, and I almost forgot her name. I'm pretty sure it's Lucy. I'm like, not completely sure here. I'm pretty sure it's Lucy. Now, Luther, I definitely know Luther. I love Luther. He almost goes in my beloved. He is wonderful. There's nothing bad about Luther. He's just a nice guy out here doing his best. I really like him a lot. He could show a little bit more personality, but that's not, his fault. That was just the writing again. And strangely enough, I think he shows more personality than Kara does in many scenes. I really do love him. I love the evolution of his relationship with Alice. I love when he's just awkward when she asks him to come over and give her a kiss goodnight. It's adorable. Everything about Luther is adorable and great, and I like him a lot. This is M. Wilson, I think. I can't remember his last name. I want to say it's Wilson. Might be Bison. It's Wilson? Something like that. Anyway, this is the cop that Connor can save on the roof. I think there is a lot of potential with this character. He is just not on screen long enough. I think that his history as, being saved by Connor and how he does this kind of complete, turn around on how he feels about androids to the point where he thanks one, that he recognizes Connor, he knows his name, and he feels like he should say thank you. That's all really interesting, and this character has a lot of potential, and he is used a lot in fan works, and I like him a lot. He's pretty cool, but in canon itself, there's just not enough of him to really put him in liked as opposed to the potential. Nathan, you're going in. I don't think about you at all. I added him on here for the same reasons as Caroline, and then I realized I probably don't need him. That said, there is a lot of actual lines from Nathan. He seems to be a pretty nice dude. He's pretty polite to Kara if she comes in dressed as a human, even when he tells her that he can't give her any money, and he's kind to Alice. So seems like a nice enough guy. You can also convince him to just put down his gun. If you're trying to rob him and he draws a weapon, you can convince him to just please give you the money by appealing to, his emotional side. And I think that's pretty cool. But I really don't think about him very much at all. All right, I'm going to shock some people probably. North is one of my beloveds. I love North. I hated North the first time I played this game. She annoyed me. I thought she was ridiculous and over the top and self-centered, a little bit quick to judge and to blame. I just found her very annoying. But when I played the game a few more times and I saw the different sides to her personality and the different things that can happen, like on her in the North as leader route, I really, really started to like her. And the more that time has gone on and the more I've thought about her and why she does the things she does and the fact that she's kind of right in a lot of ways, I just really, really like her. She has a lot of potential outside of what was actually shown in game, but what's shown in game is still enough to put her in the My Beloved category. Perkins. Perkins is in between and Jail for Mother, but I'm going to go ahead and put him in Jail for Mother. He sucks. I mean, we all know Perkins sucks. Perkins really sucks because he seems to probably think that androids really are sentient. He treats Markus like he does, and this could have been just a tactic, used against Markus, but where is Markus? Do I not have Markus on my Tiermaker? The fuck? Okay, don't mind that little cut. We now have Markus. I cannot believe I didn't have fucking Markus on my Tiermaker. Oh my god. I stopped talking in the middle of Perkins, and I don't fucking remember what I was saying. Perkins sucks. That's all we need to know. Perkins goes in jail for Mother. It was wild, by the way, seeing this actor play a likable character in Beyond Two Souls. I kept waiting for him to be awful, but he wasn't. He was great. Perkins, unfortunately, not great. All right, Ralph. I'm gonna make people mad, but he goes in ugh. I don't care about Ralph, and I don't have that much sympathy for him. Again, I'm not super interested in hearing the whiny justifications for threatening children. Like, I don't care. Yes, I know Ralph had a traumatic time, but, he could not traumatize Alice. So, I don't care. He knew better, and he does do better, so he's not going in jail for Mother, but he's still, ugh. So this is Ripple. I didn't have a better picture of her than this, and I couldn't find one, and I didn't feel like booting up my game. So she's going in the potential. She doesn't go into liked like Echo does, just because we don't really get much of her. She has like 1 or 2 lines, and so I'm putting her in the potential because, like Echo, she has an interesting story, and I think that she probably could have a really interesting personality, but we really don't get anything of it, so she goes in the potential. RK900. So again, fandom has done really cool stuff with RK900. However, he is a non-entity. He doesn't speak, he doesn't do anything. He's just there. He has no personality in game, and I forget he exists, except for fandom. So I don't think About You at all is the fairest place to put him. Rose is darling. She is probably the nicest character in this entire game, and that includes like Alice, She is just sweet. She's doing her best. She's just great. I'm going to put her in liked. I don't put her in my beloved just because, although I feel really fond toward her, her character also doesn't interest me that much, if that makes sense. She's kind of what you see, what you get, and that's not a bad thing for a character. And what you see, what you get is great when it comes to Rose. She's wonderful, but I don't find her that interesting. So that's why she goes in liked. Rupert. Rupert has potential. Rupert could be a very interesting character, but again, we barely know anything about him. And unfortunately, we don't get to see him later in Jericho, except for he's in the background of a shot, or he's in kind of an obscure spot in a shot, but we don't get any personality from him. The only time that he even speaks is the rare choice to chase him instead of saving Hank. He doesn't even talk in the evidence room, so we get hardly anything of him, which sucks. But he definitely has potential as a pretty interesting android who seems to have been living as a deviant among humans for some time, and who loves pigeons and all of that. There's some cool stuff to his character that you could expand upon, but there's not enough in canon. Shaolin. Again, Shaolin goes in the potential. He is interesting. I think he's a sympathetic character in the way that Daniel and Ralph are not. And I think that the actor does so good with him that you kind of really feel for him, and you're kind of invested in his thoughts and his feelings, and you kind of understand where he's coming from. Unfortunately, obviously that he's not in that much of the game, and we don't get much to his personality aside from this one particular facet, in the particular situation he's in with the particular situation that happened. So we don't get much well-rounded of him. And I know that I put Echo up there, and we don't get that much with her either. So maybe I should put Shaolin up there. I feel like Shaolin needs more development, but, I'm going to move him up anyway. I really like him, and I really find him interesting. All right, Simon. I'm going to make a lot of people angry here. I don't think about Simon at all. I think Simon is extremely bland in canon itself. In fanon, people have, given Simon a personality. Unfortunately, they tend to do it by giving him Josh's personality, but they can also kind of make Simon have his own personality. Some people have. But in canon, there's not a lot to him. He's kind of contradictory. He's kind of wishy-washy. He doesn't really do anything. He just kind of complains and then suggests running away. So I don't dislike Simon. I mean, I don't really like him, but I don't really think about him at all. I feel kind of annoyed by the amount of popularity he has in fandom, but that's just how fandom is. They always latch onto characters that I find annoying. So, I've gotten used to this. The Supernatural fandom was real bad about this, but I don't really like Simon, and I don't really dislike Simon because I'm extremely ambivalent on Simon. So he goes into I don't think about you at all. Tina. So Tina is between I don't think about you at all and the potential. She has barely any lines. She can be really fun in fandom, but that's basically all fandom personality. We really don't get to know anything about her or her personality. So I like fandom Tina a lot. She goes in the potential, but canon Tina goes in I don't think about you at all. Todd, unsurprisingly, Todd goes in jail for Mother. I don't care about Todd's sob story. I don't care about his, extremely low bar redemption scene at the bus stop. It's like, oh, I didn't have you guys murdered. That's Ooh boy, that's sure redemption. Yeah, no, he goes in jail for Mother. I don't care. Warren goes in ugh. I thought about putting her in jail for Mother, but I think that she has enough reasoning to be acting the way that she is that I think you could get away with explaining it away. Kind of like with Gavin. It's not egregiously terrible behavior. It's terrible because of the way she's, basically writing off an entire species, but I feel like she also truly believes in what she's saying and that she thinks that they're just machines and she's trying to protect people. So she's because she really should have done more due diligence. However, I don't think that she belongs in jail for Mother. She kind of goes in between the categories. Zlatko goes straight into jail for Mother. He and Todd can go sit with each other and cry about whatever their terrible, sad pasts are and beat androids together. Like, they're just stupid. Screw Zlatko. He really was just a replacement for that creepy doctor in the Hawaiian shirt in Heavy Rain anyway. All right, Markus, who was totally on here the whole time. Oh my god, I cannot believe I didn't have Markus on here. Markus goes and liked. I like Markus, despite not having him on here. The reason I didn't have him on here was because I was trying to find a really good image of him, and I didn't find one that I wanted, and I was like, oh, I'm going to take a screen cap later, and I guess I never got around to it, and then just didn't notice, even though I did a double check, because I guess my brain had just been like, oh, I put Markus in, of course I put Markus in, duh. Okay, I like Markus. Markus is cool, no matter whether you do, peaceful Markus or revolutionary Markus. Both Markuses are valid. Any combination of the in-between of Markuses is valid. It's very hard to make Markus unlikable, honestly. He might be a little bland sometimes, but it would be very hard to make Markus fully unlikable, I think. He has a few moments where he's kind of annoying, like, completely bitching at people in Jericho about how terrible Jericho is right when he got there. It's like, Markus, come on, dude, read the room a little bit. But Markus overall is a great person who does great things for his people, and I really like him. The only reason he doesn't go in my beloved, is the same as with Kara. I think that his storyline is just a little too flat and a little too straightforward. I think Markus suffered for being a vehicle of his plot without as much focus on him as a character. So if Markus had gotten more attention for his personality, more chance to develop his personality rather than him existing to further his storyline, I think that he would have been much higher ranked amongst me and other players. Because Markus has great potential, and he is a great character. He's just not necessarily one that I'm extremely invested in because I don't see enough of him, honestly. So it looks like that's it. This is my final ranking now that we have everybody involved. Yeah, I think this is pretty fair. The only people I'm on are Warren. I think really could go in jail for Mother, but I wanted to give her a little bit of benefit of doubt and go into and I probably could have put Shaolin and Echo into the potential instead of liked, but I'll put them here. I put the Border Guard in liked. They deserve to be in liked. The Border Guard probably should go in the potential, but yeah, I think that's it. Feel free to disagree with me in the comments. I mean, you'll be wrong automatically, but you can still feel free and have debates in the comments, but be nice to each other. Everyone has different opinions and different things that appeal to them about different characters. So we can all have our little, likes and dislikes. You can check out this particular template, and I'll have the link in the description. It should have Markus now. Markus, my poor boy. It should have Markus now, so we should be good. And that's it. I will try to put together a decent video in the next few weeks on something at least. No promises, November kind of threw me way off, and now we're going into holiday season, so I'm going to be traveling and all of that, but I want to at least put something out. So even if it's just another Tiermaker video after I do play The Devil in Me. Oh, and I've had a few requests for videos about The Devil in Me. When I play it, if it grabs me, like it's something that I found really interesting, I'll make some sort of video on it. However, if it's something like Man of Medan where I freaking hated it, I probably will not make a video. But then again, who knows? I might. However, everything I've heard is that The Devil in Me is quite good. So I'm really hyped to play it, and I probably will make some sort of video on it, even if it's pretty short. So do something like that, and then I'll be having the supermassive iceberg once I finish it. I may also throw up a heavy rain iceberg at some point. I haven't finished making it because I was picky on the screen caps again, and again I would have to load up my game and take pictures, and I didn't bother. But I could tell you my glorious heavy rain opinions. So for now, though, that is the Detroit Become Human Tiermaker. I hope you guys had some fun watching this, and thanks for sticking around to the ending. Thanks for watching.